ディズニーが最初に開発し、その後スピンアウトし、オープンソースとなったドラゴンチェーンからドラゴンチェーン商用プラットフォームおよびドラゴンチェーンインキュベーターが登場。まず資産となるデータの保護に重点を置いているドラゴンチェーンプラットフォームを見ていきましょう。サーバーレス構造を用いた拡張性高いプラットフォームは、スマートコントラクトの開発者たちが Java、Python、Node、C# など使い慣れたプログラミング言語で作り込まれるようパッケージ化されています。さらに、すべてのスマートコントラクトが Amazon AWS とその他の機能にフルアクセスできます。次はドラゴンチェーンインキュベーターを見ていきましょう。ドラゴンチェーンインキュベーターはブロックチェーンプロジェクトのローンチに必要なプロセスを標準化しました。では次にドラゴンチェーンの市場を見ていきましょう。暗号通貨、マーケティング、法律、ソフトウェア開発、採用といったあらゆる分野のスペシャリストたちが集まるエコシステムになっています。また、この市場には開発者たちが再利用目的で収益化したビルド済みのスマートコントラクタライブラリーも含まれています。最後に紹介するのがドラゴンチェーンプラットフォームとエコシステム全体のすべてのサービスにアクセスするためのトークン化されたマイクロライセンスです。ブロックチェーンビジネスマジック用に設計されています。あなたも最も安全で柔軟性が高くビジネス仕様のブロックチェーンプラットフォームとエコシステムの一員になれます。10月2日、いよいよドラゴン発売開始。
All right, welcome to the 184th weekly episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Our hosts for today are Zach and Andrew from the Legacy Right. Hello. Greg from Rivet. I do believe that Sean is. Oh, Sean, maybe just let me see here. I don't see him. He says he's here. I don't see him. I don't see you, Sean. Let us see here. I'm asking where he is. So anyway, hopefully Sean will join. This is the Turkey edition of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Oh, there he is. Here we go. Thanks for joining, Sean. And I do believe that I Am for I Am is going to be on shortly. I think he was finishing up his acceptance speech or his coronation ceremony speech. So anyway, either way, he'll be on soon. Lisa's out this week. I think it's a weird week because of the holiday in the U.S. So bear with us. And let's see here. Quick update on the layer ownership tokens from last week's episode. So the topic, which was an excellent show, by the way, how would SBF answer questions about blockchain? We actually had an actual appearance by SBF. So you should watch that if you haven't already. Every host will receive 222 lot. Every top contributor, 111 lot. And last week's theme was nominated by I Am for I Am, who will get 111 lot or 71 lot. The tokens come with passive income, free edits in the layer, and governance votes, most importantly. Speaking of which, the first thing we're going to cover real quick here is the vote on themes for the month of December for the show here. So the top 4 will be selected. No one's voted for blockchain in China. Meme coin madness has 15%. Debunking common crypto or blockchain myths, no votes yet. Is crypto and the world becoming centralized or decentralized, has 11.5%. Blockchain and quantum, nothing. Freestyle, nothing. Debunk or prove conspiracies, nothing. An exclusive for Nakamoto himself on the show. I don't know how they're going to swing that. I don't know who's going to swing that. Jacob Wayne has voted on that. 2.6%. Santa's blockchain, 0.9%. I tell you, if we don't get a Santa one on, it'll be the first December we've had in the years here that we haven't had a Santa episode. And Roger
Christmas up the theme, you know.
Maybe that's Satoshi. That's Satoshi Nakamoto is Santa.
There you go. We can
I could see that.
We can run a counter op on the war on Christmas, right? We can just Christmasify everything.
Everything. Yep.
Also, you're supposed to say China now. When you read the first
China.
Oh, China, like Trump says.
Yeah, it's a
The
thing.
Trump pronunciation.
Now it's the
China,
way
China,
everybody
China.
China.
You know,
I have a
Taiwan,
meme.
as
right?
soon as the Kamala gets its tent under the nose with that kind of corrective behavior and speech.
To the nose. And Roger Vere's case update with 14%. So I mean, it looks like there's a 14%, there's a 11%, there's a 15%. Those are the top three. So it's you're kind of going for right now. It looks like Nakamoto, but we could combine these two maybe if Santa really is Satoshi. But either way, that's good. And let's see here. Theme of the week this week is you have to. By the way, you have to vote by Wednesday for those. So you have until Wednesday to
But
vote.
if
for the
blockchains are or Satoshi was Santa, does that mean Gary Gensler was Krampus?
Yes.
Maybe so.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's a good.
Then who's the Grinch?
Yeah.
Or the Grinch. Yeah. He looks more like the
yeah.
Grinch.
I,
Or a
what's
gecko.
Krampus look like? I've only seen cartoons of him, so I don't even know. Right. Anyway,
I figure it looks like Gary Gensler.
Yesterday,
Just
there was the
old
Grinch
time
was
beer.
outside of the funeral home down the road.
what is
waving
it?
at people?
Oh,
And
brother.
it was very odd.
Okay. Should we start with questions? You guys have anything we should start with? I know I Am for I Am will come in at some point, and we're gonna have a little a den focused ceremony. But I don't know when. It might be at the end of the show, it might be in the middle. So should we just start with questions now? What do you guys want to do? Anything else to cover?
Works for me.
Okay. All right.
Speak now or hold your peace.
So this
I
is
guess.
theme of this
No
week
doubt
is
the thing is going
DAOs. DAOs, that is decentralized autonomous organizations on and off blockchain. So I will add it here. These are the questions. I'm going to refresh them now. Oh, wait a minute. I think. Oh, okay. Here we go. We're going to take the questions in a minute, but we're going to start with the actual imperator, the emperor of Den.social. I'll make sure I get it so I can see here. So
hello,
hey,
citizens, fellow denizens.
I'm
honored to be here.
He is newly elected to Den
Caesar.
as the emperor of Den. I think
Everyone
he is
needs a gimmick.
the only
Unanimous
DAO that has an emperor. It is the only social media platform that has an emperor. And I think he mentioned, maybe you wanted to say this, that he might be the only emperor who is an agorist, right?
That's
in
correct.
history. So it's an interesting combination, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
It's right
Yeah,
back
Strange
to
This is-
legacy
A
Is it a
indeed.
light?
socialist.
A strange legacy indeed.
Yes. What's
However,
that behind you?
it was by unanimous vote of the DAO.
was
There was not
unanimous.
one dissenter. There was not even one challenger.
This is
So
it's
by
a good.
acclamation.
That's a good omen, right? That's some
correct.
good things happening, right? And I hear that you have declared a feast day
I
for the
have.
entire country.
That is correct. In 2 days. So let you
love it.
all eat cake and feast on turkey and stuffing and ham and whatever else you may partake. And
love
be
it.
grateful
Cranberry
for
sauce.
your emperor. Let's
And 100
celebrate
days
together.
of games.
Excellent. I love it. This is excellent. What timing? That's amazing.
You guys,
Okay.
I have
you guys bring
a,
the bread, I'll bring the circuses.
Sure. Surely you jest.
I
I
love
must
it.
bring the news.
I do have a brief coronation speech that I would like to provide
Okay.
at this time
Okay. Excellent.
in this momentous occasion.
Very good.
So if you bear with me, well, you don't need to bear with me. I'm the Caesar. And I have I almost have controlling interest in this damn show even. And as Caesar, that says something.
Are you implying you're bearing arms?
That's correct.
I
Bare
love it.
arms. You have bare arms?
All right.
Oh, looks like he has sleeves to me.
Hear ye. The State of the Union address for Den Social will happen later. And hello, Satoshi Sean. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm mute.
Oh, he's on mute. All right.
Great, thank you for asking.
Good. Fantastic. I'm honored to have you here in our presence. All right. The coronation speech for the Emperor of Den Social. Citizens of Den Social, my fellow denizens, noble members of the Din Dao Senate, and subjects of the digital realm. On this momentous day in history, history has been made. I, by my own undeniable authority, ascend to the throne as Emperor of Din Social, ruler of all social media, and sovereign above the petty titles of mere mortal platforms called owners or shareholders. I stand before you, not as a servant of algorithms or as a captive of advertisements, no, but as the chosen one, the champion of creators, the liberator of the censored, and the architect of a new era where voices will be rewarded and not silenced. Not silenced and censored on other platforms. Oh, no, no. Din Social, under my lead, under my charge, let it be known across every bite of the digital world that Din Social is now the empire of empires. I apologize. My reader here kind of seems to go slow. And I, your emperor, who rules supreme, will no longer bow to the other platforms. No longer shall we bow to the whims of the self-proclaimed titans like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. Today, let it be known that they bow to me. Recognized as the undeniable truth, their platforms are but shadows compared to the brilliance of our community here at Din.social. We have built this together. While they squabble over their fleeing trends and cheap innovations and social media clubs and blogs of nothingness. No, we here at Din Social, we've risen to the shining beacon of sovereignty, of freedom, and unfiltered expression. I extend my imperial hand to all creators, visionaries, and dreamers. The empire is yours as much as it is mine. Together on Din Social, we shall rewrite the rules of engagement, dismantling the empires of old and building. We shall build a future where users are stakeholders, members of a community, where denizens who join us on our quest post and contribute to the collective legacy of this mighty realm. I proclaim this as our mandate. No longer will creators toil with recognition or reward. No longer will censorship silence the brave. No longer will centralization dictate the fate of our connections. From this day forth, the digital age shall be marked by two eras: before Din Social and the reign of the emperor. To my rivals is the realm of social media. You thought you were the king, the sovereign. But my fellow revolutionaries, I swear to you that my rivals, to Elon and Mark, I offer only this: kneel before the undeniable will of the people and unrelenting progress of this empire. Kneel before me, the Caesar, the emperor, the king, the sovereign, the lord of all social media. And to my citizens and allies, my fellow revolutionaries, I swear to you as your emperor that this is only the beginning. The age of Din Social. The age of Din Social has dawned, and together we shall reign supreme. All hail the empire. All hail Din Social. All hail denizens, and all hail the people. The Emperor of Din Social has spoken.
We were about to post. Salute you.
I do have
Love
one question, Emperor. When
Yes.
can I get a digital nomad visa?
Oh,
A digital nomad visa?
Yes.
Zach. Go to din.social and post on there, and maybe your wish will be granted by the Emperor.
Okay.
This is very good. Very good. So yeah, what's the first order of business? Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I guess after the feast,
That's
after the feast,
Thursday.
we will get to business. And I don't know. What do you think? What should be the first thing?
The words and wisdom of Satoshi Shon, I would like to hear him speak. Come forth and speak, Satoshi Shon.
You're muted.
I'm already fourth, but what do you want me to speak about? What's next for Den? Where are we?
A lot
where are
of
we
things.
going?
Now it has a leader.
Yeah, now it has a leader, and there's some good stuff happening. Some good stuff.
In honor of
Very
your cloak,
interesting stuff about to
in honor
happen.
of your cloak for the feast, we'll make some dish with that color, something maybe with cranberries and sauce.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
that'd be
what do you call when they have the Jello stuff that's it's purplish, right? That's a very royal dish, I think.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Sean, Din Social, and we got the show here of the DAO. I thought it was perfect timing for all of this. How ostentatious and what a PR stunt to have a leader named an emperor for a social media site. So anyway, under my charge, shall we say, and together, I hope that we can. First, we will take a snapshot. We'll take a snapshot of total users, the matter price point. We will take other items such as social media, the X platform, how many followers on YouTube, et cetera, and that will be how you can gauge my leadership. And hopefully, I can also bring in some dollars so we can go back to prioritizing our list of proposals that have been passed in the DAO on what should be done. Or what we think is priority, and maybe put those back out to a vote because they've been sitting out there stagnant for quite some time. Maybe we can raise some funds. Maybe we can raise some the
And
price
not
of
to try
matter
to
to stuff.
capitalize on the division of the country and the terrible things that are happening with people, but I think this is the ripest time to do it.
Absolutely.
So many, I never heard of blue sky before, and now literally everyone's ramming it down my throat. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, we gotta leave this. And it's like it's such a big time to have an alternate platform out there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You know?
although ideally not one that is laden with 2 tons of irony, right? Because the blue sky thing was originally created under Twitter to be the decentralized protocolization of it,
Right.
And after their spin-off, they had such a strong draw from people who liked censorship that's what they got instead.
Yeah, I saw that. Kind of crazy.
One other quick comment. I think from last week's show you had the dark, and this show you have the light.
That's a very good point. Yes.
Yeah.
I would salute you, but I don't want to get us all canceled.
Yeah.
Okay. All
We're
right.
gonna have a vote on that. It'll be a DAO vote on what the formalities will be. How do we refer to you? How do we salute you, hail you, whatever?
I mean, it can't be the Roman salute.
No, I guess not. Well, we can pound our chest though.
Point to my
Yeah.
mustache.
I don't know. I mean, it could be some imperial thing. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So should
All
we
right,
get
on to
started
questions?
on the questions? Yeah. Let me pull those up. I'm going to
By
refresh.
the way, I
them.
did get a
Why?
message from SBF, and he was from his altruistic effectiveness was wanting to know how effective his show was last week. How many views, or did he earn any kind of like host points or lot or?
You
11
jinxed that.
I think yes. I think he should.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Are they allowed to make money while in prison? Is when you're in jail on Monopoly, you can't make any money, right?
No, you can't.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess the emperor will just have to hold those.
Yeah, I'll just have to
Hold the
earnings in
funds.
trust.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
You're
So I'm
you're
refreshed.
a loyal denizen, Greg. Thank you.
Shoot, this is the wrong one. All right, I have the wrong one held up here. I'm going to pull it up. DAOs on and off blockchains. I'm going to refresh this now, just so it's
Where's the
everybody can see.
mighty Lisa for the coronation here?
What she it's a weird
Moving.
week for Thanksgiving. I think something was happening with.
I think she
Can't
was
remember what
having a
She's
showing.
moving, and then the realtor said, "I have someone that wants to come over to your house to show the house at
That's
this
right.
exact time."
That's right.
So
Oh, well, good for her.
That's
Good for
mhm.
her. We
So
miss
by the
you.
way, this does point out. I forgot this is even in here. The hosts, this is how the stuff is split up. It's all transparent, so you guys know for the roundtable. Okay, first question from Jacob Wayne. Okay, if Normal World started making DAOs, but they were off chain, and they were marketed as DAOs, etc., what would be the downside of letting this happen? I think about how Coinbase lets you think that you own the crypto that you buy. It'd be a similar situation. What do you think?
Well,
So who wants to go first?
do we need to define a DAO first or at all?
Yes,
for some of our listeners?
decentralized
well, yeah.
autonomous organization.
History of DAOs.
Yep. The idea is basically a joint stock corporation if there were no board of directors and the shareholders voted directly. Is essentially roughly the idea.
What's the difference
And
between a DAO and a transparent group and vote?
Good
Well,
question.
a DAO also. Sorry, I can jump in on this one if you guys
Go
don't
for
mind me cutting. A DAO has a unique tie-in with the software, so that's why I think maybe it would be hard to do this and do it without distorting the meaning of the word so badly that it wouldn't mean the same thing anymore. The very first DAOs had a system where they would just vote on which settings file to apply, essentially. And if you apply, the current settings file, all the votes stay with that settings file. And then if they want to update it, they actually have to move their votes, withdraw them from the existing thing they voted for, and then replace them on the new one. And if a majority moved their votes, the new settings file becomes instantly operative. That's how DAI worked. Before they did their little foundation coup, where the foundation took over the DAO and started doing stuff that the DAO had no control over. But yeah, that's I think that it could happen. I guess I could see somebody trying to do that, but it would be sort of like like you said, Coinbase selling crypto, or even better, Robinhood selling crypto, because you couldn't take it off there by any means.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing that decentralized autonomous are the hard parts, particularly autonomous. But the interesting thing, and this is all still, this is very early to this technology, right? That the inbound and the outbound will not always, but they will for real world applications. You could see that maybe those would sometimes not be decentralized, and that is the fact that you have to go to a website to do it. Now you can do a decentralized website, and Den is even looking into some of that for some of what it's looking to do. And the outbound would be what if the DAO needs to make a purchase? It's going to have to contract with a real world entity. Now it could do a virtual purchase, and it could do crypto stuff or buy an NFT, and that would be totally. But if you had to hire,
totally anonymous.
Yeah, I mean, if the DAO had to hire a lawyer, or in the case of like say Wyoming, they have those serial LLCs where the DAO could effectively create a new company for a short-term purpose.
Those are delicious, by the way.
Yes, serial LLCs. Yeah. As long as you get the healthy ones fortified. But either way, that it is interesting. And so I even think, there is room to, do some things that might not be a purist angle on making a DAO. And one other thing, we've talked about it a little here. Essentially having coined the term smart constitution to to kind of hit upon some of the weaknesses that we've found in the crypto world for projects being commandeered by people who don't believe in the original philosophy that everybody got in the project. You could look at Bitcoin. There's several other projects that would fit into that, and
ENS, good
it's
example.
almost like you need a religious fervor or a defined culture that ties in to the smart contract itself. And so Din is looking at doing something that way, where you would have a legal component, a smart contract, autonomous component, and a cultural component, where they would have some type of tagging connecting them, so that everybody can affect or come to consensus in the autonomous portion on things that are defined in something that is more understandable to human on the cultural side. We don't like X, or we do want Y, right? So there's a lot of that, and so there's going to be a lot of room for really cool stuff to happen if we can get through to it, right?
Yep.
So,
I think we should touch on their significance, because when you think of borders and nations or states and this kind of thing, these arbitrary borders that are written on land and on paper, on maps, a DAO certainly is borderless, and it extends as an organization beyond borders, and allows a community of like-minded individuals to come together and form for the lack of a better term, corporation.
Well, that's a DAC.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But as a DAO, you can group together like-minded individuals towards a common cause and work it as if it's a legal framework. Work within a legal framework that escapes the restrictions of maybe where you live. And I think that significance is huge, and that it's a governance model of a decentralized organization, and it's a governance model that extends beyond the limitations and laws or regulations that you might find in your home country, and allows the organization to march forward with new innovation and changes. And it's huge. It's almost like the next evolution from what Satoshi brought us.
Like a coveted community.
Yeah.
Right.
Andrew?
Yeah.
A friend of mine's tried to start,
actually a lot like
and
that.
we still are, I think, doing this. It was called the Kool-Aid Foundation, and it was a DAO that was basically everyone would vote on different charities and different. Let's say you want to fix your park. You want to do it as an individual. You go before the city council. It's like, hey man, this park needs to be fixed. It's dangerous for kids. Blah blah blah. And they're like, it's going to cost $40,000 to upgrade this stuff and fix it, and and we're not going to do it. So you could go to the Kool-Aid Foundation. It would be brought up for a vote with the DAO, with, like you said, borderless. There could be someone in Germany that's voting on your local park, whether or not to pick that up. Then it would, money would get assigned from the treasury. People would pitch in, and then even in that community, people from 2 counties over be like, "Oh, I'm a welder, and I can come and help and lower the cost." And so it was not. You're thinking big country borders, but it's also on a smaller level.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Local could be really valuable, right?
Yes.
Very valuable.
And another element of DAOs that comes up with what you said there too is I think there's a different mode of working with DAOs that some people will immediately see the benefit to because you've thought about this before, and others who haven't thought about this before. I recommend not going with your gut reaction and looking into it very carefully so you can understand it from first principles. But the idea behind employment is typically find a person, vet them, hire them, then have them do needed tasks. And the DAO approach is typically more identify and publish needed tasks to be done with bounties associated.
Right.
Yep.
And people apply for the job by submitting their take on the project. So the work comes first,
Right.
then the reward.
Yeah.
And you'll see this. That's why you'll see a lot of like, parallel solutions that would have worked but didn't get used over the top ones still receive some reward in some of these bounties, so that people aren't doing uncompensated work entirely. But it cuts out a lot of the red tape around getting things done. It favors action over sort of precautionary debate.
Right.
Yep.
Greg, you mentioned a great point, or spawned a point that I'd like to make, is that you and I have both seen it at the State House, where votes are hidden, masked, maybe changed in back chambers or in smoke-filled rooms, shall we say, where this is a blockchain show and our blockchain discussion, and that's exactly what a DAO prevents from happening, because the votes take place on chain, and that's huge. And so, and going to Jacob Wayne's question, when he's talking about off-chain and on-chain, and same with you, Sean, having that vote being, posted onto a blockchain, entered into a blockchain, boom, it's there, it's permanent for everyone to see. And it's a choice by the DAO if people are going to be able to see who voted or who didn't vote, or on which proposal was voted on, either openly or in quiet and secret. So
and that may create some challenges around people who come up to the podium after the session or whatever and say, hey, I accidentally hit the wrong button on that one. You're gonna have to tell them, actually, you've got the God power on your desk and you hit the wrong vote button. Be more careful with the God button next time, because there's no undoing that.
I have a question and would like to have a special dispensation, since I can't log into my Den account. Put the question there. So, how, if people don't know about DAOs, it's not like everyone can vote, but votes can be like, basically, the richer you are, the more you have of a coin in some cases, the more power you have. So it really is, in my opinion, the the rich taking, having more power than the poor. I don't like that kind of vote system. I do understand it, because that person is more involved and they've put more into this. So you got to use the word project or community or whatever. Community sounds nicer than project. So what's your opinion on that? And what do you think? Do you think it's acceptable, it's good, or it's a necessary evil?
Joe, I think you should take this because of the DIN DAO with the founder creator, the how it's separated.
Right.
Things can be altered.
I'll show you this. I mean, this is behavior systems. That actual issue was brought up heavily by Larry Sanger. That, because he's seen this in the past where projects that he's been in fell victim to that issue, that someone came in and they either got more or bought more and kind of
if your top holder's Andreesen Horowitz, you're not really a DAO.
Right.
Hostile takeover.
And so what DIN does, and it does there is a mix there, but what DIN does is it primarily focuses on, and part of the reason that DIN exists was to establish a proof of concept or a reference implementation of a theoretical thing that I came up with during the time at Disney and out of Disney, where we ended up calling it behavior tech. Lately, I think of it as an alternative to AI, that it is an extremely efficient and extremely valuable way to answer questions the same way that AI does, but without training and with a lot more transparency and voluntarism. That no one is, there is no one in there that is enslaved to answer these questions, including non-humans.
Right.
But it is a
Mhm.
humane way to get people to do, to answer questions, to help like an organization do things. And
Right.
in the case of governance, you're effectively defining and measuring good behaviors and bad behaviors as related to goals of an enterprise, goals of an organization.
Yep.
And for Den, that is evaluation of content, tagging of content, production of content, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that people are incentivized to do the things that are deemed good and disincentivized to do the things that are bad, trying to manipulate votes or trying to post spam or any of that those things come together. And with it's all the actions need to be on chain. So that's an important scalability foundation. And
Right.
with that, it means that you can define how governance works related to behaviors. And the beauty is that in the end, you have the ability to say basically, yeah, you could come in and you could buy a whole bunch of tokens related to the governance, and you could get a hand in a governance, and it would be organic and natural. But you couldn't actually take over governance unless you are also doing all of the things. So it's effectively,
Right.
sure, you can come in and try to
You can buy
take
your way in
over,
front for a moment. But
yeah,
unless
with your
you're
money,
using it and
but
contributing,
yeah,
you're
you
gonna get
have to
overrun.
still do the things. So it's like, okay, it's a driver that you'll then uh, you know invest monetarily and I guess with your behavior in your actions to make the platform better. And so that's
Right.
the gist of it. That behavior tech, I think, for governance is massive, and we've proven it works. We've proven that it's effective. But the question is, how do we get the word out there? So
That's the job of an
Well,
emperor.
and
yes,
that is. And
Conquest.
I would like to, Joe. I would like to add to that a little bit too, because
Yeah.
the voting system Sean described is popular among DAOs, right now. But technically, you build DAOs on chains that are Turing complete, right? That means anything that doesn't infinite loop, or on chains that use gas to limit, compute burn, like Ethereum or Cardano, or basically the smart contract EVM style model that's been adopted pretty widely. You can do whatever you want, right? You can have it be, if you have one fraction of a token, you get one vote, and if you have 100,000 tokens, you still get one vote. Or you could have it be, we're not voting at all. We're going to, from the pool of holders, randomly select an emperor who will decide. We could do something similar to that, but like a blind firing squad, where only one guy has a live round, but nobody knows who
Greg,
it is.
now on that note, why
Like,
can't
the
I
options are
have
infinite.
1 million tokens in one system? I rule, and the other system, I take my 1 million tokens and I put them in 1 million wallets, and then I still rule.
Well,
you put them in.
You could try it, but the trick is
100
would it be
million wallets.
popular?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So-
it's gonna depend on whether or not the mode you choose promotes your purpose so well that it actually increases participation, if that is indeed your purpose. So you have to twin your governance system to a great social platform to begin with, which is,
Yeah, but that's why
Den's
flexibility matters. Some people would get angry at me for talking about flexibility, but the fact that in my opinion, if you want a chain that can do the things that really make these attacks addressable, to counter like that, that attack, the Sybil attacks, other things like that, that the chain needs to be able to pull data from outside. It needs to be able to evaluate data on chain itself, on its own chain as well. And because behavior on chain is important, and if you can make the behavior combined with the tokens, because the tokens, the economic element is there, you can do anything, and by the way, we're still experimenting. I mean, Den has its own the World Blockchain Roundtable has its own mode as well. That's much simplified
Right.
from what DIN has. And we're working on Dracaria is thinking about a couple of different things. We're talking about some stuff going on with DIN that would have similar new ways to evaluate actions with decentralization and everything else. So it's super exciting, and I do think
Whoever can grind the whole 50-foot rail on a college campus and provide video proof, that could be
well,
the
you can imagine
the governance vote.
if you just imagine if we were to start a company today that was effectively a DAO, and it might be one of these other forms that are more advanced, that is actually not just from speculation and not just from market liquidity. It was actually driving a profit, real revenue, real profit. Right. This could very well be a much better form of forming a company, or what you would do when you make a company now. And it doesn't have the limitations of what state are you in and all that stuff, right? It's
right. There's still valuable fungible products that scarcity is a problem for, right, as opposed to a benefit for, right? So one model we haven't really seen emerge yet is sort of a storefront style token purchase system where the token can be redeemed for some utility, and you can buy as many of them as you're willing to pay for, and they will be minted accordingly. But they would have to be we thought about doing that with Rivet, where people could buy request credits and then redeem them as a token and hold them and move them between accounts or give them away or whatever. So that their prepaid requests weren't lost if they decided to stop processing requests, and that they could retain some value.
Yeah,
but it would have been an infinite buy, right? There would have been no maximum supply cap. They would have just come to our site and put in, which token or credit card you'd like to pay with, and it didn't matter how many you purchased. You'd flood the market if you wanted to. So they wouldn't really be speculated on.
Yep.
Jacob Wayne's question, off-chain DAOs is just a disaster waiting to happen as well, because of all the manipulation that can be done.
Committee death too.
Lack of trust
by committee.
Lack of trust in the organization.
Yep.
I think DAOs bring that trust, because the votes are on chain.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to do a DAO like you're setting up. A government select committee, right? You don't want that to be, this committee will provide recommendations, and then the DAO will decide based on a vote. You will be waiting. It's a long wait for a train to come to get those recommendations out if you do that. Especially if you compensate the committee members with some kind of salary.
We have double dipping here. Legacy Zach has asked a question. Okay, how do we educate the normies on the utilitarian function of DAOs in our modern society? I have an idea for this that if you want to hear first, or I can wait till you guys answer.
Go ahead.
I'll go. I think this is needed, and I tried to talk to someone about it. That we should, and we probably need a subject, an initiative. My thought was on blockchain-based voting or something similar that would be a positive. You create a DAO, and that DAO is funded by people who want that issue, and they can vote on where it's applied. Like say, hey, I want it applied in my state or my county first, and I have, I can facilitate introductions to the right people, and we can, put, if it's a local election, you can put tens of thousands, not even millions in, and have an effect with, ads or some, billboards and stuff like that. And if the DAO was doing it, here's the thing: the opposition that normally are used to, getting money from big non-government organizations, NGOs, and things like this to do things that we don't want, those organizations would be fighting against these DAOs with real, war chests,
implications,
right? And it would scare the crap out of them. And it would highlight it to a lot of people. It's like, wait a minute, I want that. I don't want this other thing. And I can see that, it would really educate people directly. And you could do it, it could be a DAO of DAOs for individual initiatives, there's a lot of things you could do, but I think we need a DAO that would itself register as a political action committee in the U.S. or do whatever's
Right.
necessary to
We could call it
legally
the
do
endowment.
these things.
Yeah.
Spell it
Yeah.
Yes,
DAO.
there you go.
Endowment.
Endowment. I love that. Oh
That's
my god,
good.
that's
Yeah, kind of like the umbrella.
I want to hear from Greg on this
I
because
wish that were mine.
he's actually worked with government
That was-
and blockchain and voting.
That was somebody who I met at a conference.
Yeah, so I'd like to hear more on that because it seems like it would be easier to manipulate. Obviously, it's on chain, so things would be visible. But like Lisa made the comment to DAOs done right can be a solution for governance versus government. So I don't see how it could be any way anonymous. It would have to be much more.
we talked about
like
it.
you would have an NFT that's like associated with your social security or your driver's license or something that would, so it would be one vote per person. You know.
Oh, you're talking
Well,
a
I mean-
real vote? Yeah, that's a totally different subject, right?
Yeah, it's a different animal, and
Yeah.
those would be.
I
hard to,
agree with
like,
that. Yeah.
Like a lot of sort of off-chain DAO conversations might actually revolve around: is this vote so important that we have to start with paper and do an on-site vote capture and then make the closeout process tabulation and on-chain recordation such that there would be like an audit receipt when the vote was cast saying this vote was cast that goes on chain and it would have to be matched to an actual counted vote during the closeout. You could do that.
Yep.
But I think pointing out just something, Sean, you said they're NFTs. I think there's a really powerful case for getting adoption through NFTs because they can capture imaginations in a way that tokens can't because they can have these unique properties to them. So you could, for instance, with partnership with the right brand, have NFTs that will get people's attention, and that holding
Right.
the NFT rather than holding some governance token that you earn is what gets you your participation right. And I could see that being a good way to, like, if you could do the AOL send out a CD, but
That's
instead of that, it'd be DAO send out an NFT and make sure it lands in everybody's mailbox, right?
Yeah, if you're talking about the
how
actual
you do it.
vote, like the election voting, you can still do secret ballot, and you can do secret ballot with known registered voters. That is, you wouldn't be able to tie this registered voter to that vote, but you would be able to tie the fact that this registered voter did vote, and here are all the actual votes. So anybody could audit the election. And they don't want that. I will tell you,
right.
they do not
No.
want that for obvious reasons.
Also, I
King
think
Louis would be a neutral automated enforcer of the rules of it.
Yeah.
you would be able to, if you got an NFT at birth, then that NFT could be burned at death to where
No, man.
you wouldn't have dead people voting.
Could be
Yeah.
tied
I
to
think
that.
Or-
on-chain ID is
Good
dangerous.
point. Like
Yeah.
what you're talking about, Sean, would be part of the identification process for voting.
Yeah.
You
I would allow
you have your
people to
social
sub in.
security number, you have your NFT at birth, you have your citizenship,
And it
whatever,
can-
all these different things.
All the stuff can be
I would allow
applied
people to
even
just
to low
prove it
tech.
with a
Like
popular-
we've even
with a regularly used social media account. Honestly,
we've
Reputation
even
should
worked
replace identity.
for things like an African village could still actually do this and have an improved ability to track votes. And you'd have different registration mechanisms and stuff depending on where you're at. But yeah, and but as to the actual question though, how do we educate the normies on it? It is I think you get a DAO that for that purpose, the endowment that Greg mentioned, because that would be something that a lot of people, am I going to give my money to a politician, or am I going to contribute to this endowment that's going to be
Right.
able to really make changes happen, right?
But
I'd
it's not
like
a
to
slushy donation. It's a
speak to that.
stake.
To speak to that too, when Wyoming put in its legislature, has voted into law to accept DAOs within the state of Wyoming under certain criteria. If anything, that brought more normies into what is
Yep.
this DAO that everyone's voting on? What is this? What's
Mhm.
this, introduced bill about, what is a DAO? Why are we voting on these things? And so that, it's kind of ironic that it's coming from within the importance and the value of having a DAO being recognized as an organization, an entity. a legal
raises
entity.
another interesting point too, because it's more than just that. It's usually paired to some software product or software project, right?
Right.
So the ultimate paradigm of a DAO would be Uber, where there's no need for the company because the drivers and riders run it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And they would get
Yeah.
to, they would have, yeah, it would be brilliant if that were
Yeah.
were possible.
Lisa's right
Yeah.
though. Without voter validation and verification, voting really means nothing, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's whoever counts it.
Yep.
Well, I mean, and
Counts.
I also think you do have to we have to come up with something better than identity, because identity is such a double-edged sword, right? Like, yeah, proving your identity when you go to the polls is important, or proving
Yep.
that you're eligible to vote, really, and that you haven't already voted is important.
Yes. Yep.
Using identity as a proxy for that means that you have to build a database of identities with location information associated with it. It's a danger from a traditional security approach to data management, where you want to do minimal capture and retention. And if you put that all on chain, especially a public chain, it would just be a bonanza for people doing identity theft type stuff. But if you did a reputation based approach, right, like maybe you put up a 5 die stake or a 5
Behavior
token stake, and then you have to report, like, I'm this pseudo anonymous social account that has this many followers, and do some simultaneous cross post of the hash to make sure that that the signature matches the account, right? You could do, then you could have, like, Bored Apes with anonymous names proving effectively that they're citizens or eligible to vote without having to say who they are, where they're from, what their age is, all that stuff that fills up our surveillance databases now.
Yep.
By the way, I'm drinking Tyrant tea in my royal goblet.
Right on.
Made in China. By the way, did you know that there's
China?
social merch? Just saying.
Yes, very, very. We're gonna have to get some Imperial Den merch now. I think I hadn't thought about that. Okay.
Straight from China, right? China.
Yes. We already do have. Maybe it's Super Happy Dragon Lucky. There's a SPQR shirt that you can get. I think it's still up on the site. Anyway, let's see here. Legacy Zach again.
The meme.
Double dipping.
I'm trying.
I want to vote.
I'm trying.
Let's see
You've
here.
won my favor.
Since we live in a world of centralized supply and large-scale governance, how could a DAO be used in today's society to retract growing centralized monetary structures and expanded overt security apparatusi, I don't know, of large government bodies? I'm just joking. So how can we use it to retract, right?
I think we've kind of answered this, but dive down the rabbit hole again, I guess, guys.
I would say there's one more thing we could do but other than what we talked about, if I may jump in. If you really wanted to do that, then you would have to use the DAO coupled with some very strict, what we would have to call not smart contracts or smart constitutions, but smart regulators, right? Where you outsource the decision logic of the regulations, how they're applied, how they're enforced, to the automation, such that it's impartial and can be provably not corrupt. And then you make the regulations to be decided by the DAO, so that the smart contracts enforce it and the DAO adopts it.
And it could be like, let's say, state of Wyoming. Imagine if they had a smart contract that it would evaluate whether your DAO is compliant. That would be perfect, right? You wouldn't have any questions of, I have to convince somebody that this is better or anything else. It's no, here are the rules.
It could also do a lot of, like, transaction-based preempting any issues with tax and all that kind of stuff. To where,
and you imagine like an org, and you could probably say it. In our industry, I know about the SEC. Should I know anything about the SEC, having no experience at Goldman Sachs or on Wall Street? No, I should know zero about the SEC. But guess what? They've decided that they're going to come in and try to regulate software. And so
Hope or Bright may have rescinded that.
Hopefully, right? And so you have this question though: if they had and here's the thing: they haven't even done it in their own way with law itself. They haven't done it. In the regulators haven't spelled out here is what is acceptable and what isn't, and so what are we left with? If you try to start a crypto company in the U.S., you're liable if you're not in the right tribe, if you don't have the right blood, if you're not a banker, if you didn't come out of Goldman Sachs, if you're not. I don't even know
if you didn't show up
if you're not the son of a
Disneyland.
senator.
Yeah.
You don't show up at Disney World with all the cash they demanded, then you're not.
If you're not Donald Trump Jr., you are liable to be attacked by this organization who has no rules set up for how you're supposed to behave, and it is really counterproductive for the country.
Kidding,
and
kidding, man.
It's ridiculous. So they've stolen
thing
billions
into the finance paradigm.
It's
dumb.
I mean, they're literally set up for corruption.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they get the
time.
money that they convince people to pay in fines. So it's
I just want to audit Gary Gensler and see how much he's made. But how long has he been the director of the
4
SEC?
years now?
I think it's like 4 years. Yeah.
Let's
How much
put it
money
this way.
has he made?
He's
as
going to
chairman?
collect after he serves.
right. That's what all the government.
Promises of payment or the payments have already been made, but he's not touching those funds till after.
Till after.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
this is his
know,
second run
That's
through the
when
corruption
he
engine.
that's when he cashes
His
in.
bag's out, you know.
you have to look, if you've ever worked in a government, you can see how the higher ups in the in the work for the civilian side workforce of the government, that for whatever reason you see some contract comes in with some one of the big tech companies or something else in my experience, and it's something that doesn't really make sense for what we're trying to build or do, and then 2 years after they retire or whatever, all of a sudden they have some big spot with that same company, and you're like, and you see it enough, you realize, oh, okay, that's how it works.
Just looking at like a doctor that makes $200,000 a year, and their house and their car and their life, and then looking at a senator that makes $200,000 a year and their house, their car, and their life.
Cars,
say 5 years, 10 years. Big difference. Big disparage.
Very big difference.
Yep.
Well,
Even
yeah,
the communists.
plus, like, the fleet of private jets available to government agencies is not available to your average $200,000 a year doctor, right? Like, the GP doesn't get access to the perks.
Yeah, they don't get the trips to Europe, and man,
all the insider trading tips.
Wow. Okay, that was good. All right, so we hit that again. All right, I am for I am. Hail. See here, DAO SHTF. Did the DAO vote to launch? Okay, let's see here. Scenario. Shit hits the fan. The financial markets collapse. Then the government collapses. Question: in a scenario where financial markets and governments collapse, should DAOs play a central role in rebuilding societal and organizational structures? If so, how could they be implemented effectively, and in what areas might they fall short or be unsuitable? I would think that the decision by generals during times of war might not be the best place to insert a DAO. How about this one? We will only launch the nuclear missiles if the DAO approves by majority vote to launch them. The Mad DAO. I love it.
For DAOs that I've seen, I prefer timeout triggers that cause action as opposed to timeout triggers that approve it. Right? Like, if you don't get all these votes, you don't launch. What if the vote opens as soon as announcement that we intend to take action is to whatever degree published, you have a right to veto within the next 2 weeks or whatever. So go on and place your votes if you intend to veto or whatever. That way you don't have death by committee for action, but at the same time you make sure that people have a say in whether or not certain actions get taken.
Effectively, like Lisa says down here, it's effectively an interactive war bond. Like, you're actually interactive within the setting of the asset itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this polls, I think, shows how important the Zach's earlier question was as well. That if this scenario happened, today. Do we have enough education out there for people to know that this is an option for the future? Because this is an improvement over what exists in the world for constitutions. That if you could create a DAO that would actually regulate this, especially if it was, advanced one, it would be amazing. And so we really do need to educate people before this happens, and it's coming, right?
Yeah.
So whether it comes because of NATO or if it becomes, who knows,
law
right?
also reaches most citizens through lawyers and courts, right? So to a certain degree, you would need DAO practitioners who were advising people who were going to go before whatever the DAO's judicial structure was, right? So you would need that in your constitution. You wouldn't just be writing for an executive or legislative branch. You would need a dispute resolution mechanism as well.
Right.
And within that dispute resolution mechanism, you might find your best teacher.
Yeah.
Because anybody who you might appoint to be judges are going to be educating the practitioners who are going to be educating the customers.
And by the way, you wouldn't have to do the entire government under one DAO. For example, let's say the U.S. national government went away. Imagine if you split it up and said, hey, we need a DAO to help us organize this, whatever this thing is. And what if, instead of it just being top down, this is what it is, everybody has to go through that. It would be adoptive. It would be voluntary. That if I'm running this kind of business, I can choose which one to take, and one of them is going to have more power and or better coordination amongst people because
like a DAO
it is
that
the
exists
preferable
temporarily for the length of one decision that you need to make.
To go back to the earlier question about the normies, imagine if Vivek and Musk made the Doge, department under a DAO.
Yes.
Will they use that to fix everything, but also to show the world how a DAO and just crypto blockchain work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because imagine, plus it would be you wouldn't have the manipulation, because who knows if they appoint somebody and they might make decisions that they have some ulterior motive, right? And if it was transparent and we had a say in it, it's like, no, you need to go after the SEC, and somebody else says, no, you need to go after the IRS. It's like, no, you need to do this or that. That's a really legitimate thing for the citizens to be deciding.
Well, and it would exclude like the possibility that like what happens with some research, right? The corrupt research usually gets out there because they run the trial 15 times and only publish the 3 results that match what they wanted or whatever. That's
a brilliant point, Sean.
Like
wow.
this.
We should all
effectively a hypervisor.
Doge DAO.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's also run by the people. The people will speak and have a voice again. You know what I mean? When let's just say, picking one. Let's say it's the Department of Education. No, I think we should disband this. Well, if the majority of the people in the DAO vote, and to the Doge, the leaders of the Department of Government Efficiency within that DAO vote, I think that the Government of Education should go. It's done nothing since Carter. If nothing, we've had worse test scores in this country, right? So if that were the voice of the people and the DAO, it'd be brilliant, because it would sure open up the normies.
It would cut through a lot of the politics, right?
It would. It would also
Well,
give everyone that has to do negative things like cutting the Department of Education a scapegoat. It's like, hey, it's what the people wanted. I'm just a guy making the burger. I didn't order the pizza.
Yep.
I wouldn't put pineapple on my pizza, but the person they ordered pineapple on pizza. So it's kind of that.
The sovereign.
I think it would be all around. I can't see hardly any negatives.
No.
Yeah.
At all.
Andrew, you said hypervisor. Can you explain that? What do you mean?
A hypervisor is like a neutral layer that sits on top of the operating system. In the case that where I know from is from the Xbox, and it's supposed to provide security and stay neutral at all times, and only report if there's a breach.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's oftentimes with like.
So that's the role of the
fleets of
DAO
virtual
in the
machines.
Doge. Got it.
It's an operating system for fleets of virtual machines to a certain degree. Is another way to frame it.
Yep.
Clever.
Yeah.
Clever
I love it. All right.
I think it also
Let's
is this sickness that we have, which Lisa has, has talked about, I've talked about that, and there's this woman that we can talk about it in current events, but people don't want to fix stuff or be even involved.
Mhm.
They want a savior. They're like, Trump's going to fix everything, and he's going to do everything. And
Yeah.
you know, Elon's the smartest man in the world. Is going to handle it. It's nice to have the smartest man in the world. You know, you've got to take some kind of part in it,
Yeah.
or you can't complain about it when you don't like it.
Yep.
So I
Exactly.
think that using a DAO like I said, I can't see any negatives.
You
That's
can't
key.
always put your same chips in on
Yeah.
one or two people. You have to actually
Right.
roll up your sleeves and get to work
Well,
yourself.
Well, that's like kind of an unspoken defining feature of DAOs, right? You're voting
Yeah.
on what you do. You're voting on legislation, not on potential legislators. This is not representative government. This is direct democracy.
Direct democracy, exactly.
I think I
Okay.
could tie this to all the questions we've had thus far in 2 points. You have point A, which is immediate gratification. You need, loyalty to a project. You need certainty about what's going to happen, and that's right here, right now, constantly. And then you have the long-term picture. Think about the North America and South America when they were founded, colonized. Though they were more decentralized because they were run by smaller governments, and those governments built on each other and consolidated into one territorial government. And then that territorial government ran under 3 banks, and then 2 banks, and now 1 bank. These 2 points are going to cross eventually, and when it does cross, you're not going to have
to rule them all.
Yeah. Well, now you're not going to have what you expect to happen, because this long-term picture, everybody shouldered the cost of the consequences and the pain, so they knew what the liberty that they were fighting for was about.
Mhm.
All these people that fight Bitcoin maximalists, they don't care because they're on drugs. They're not experiencing real significant pain. They're just here for the quick buck.
Number go up.
They're just there for
when the
junkies.
when the system collides and crosses, you're going to enter a new a new
Right. And the bigger
new
your
era.
bag,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
less you're going to care about the governing principles behind the thing
you're going to
doing,
have to
right?
you're going to have to stomach the pain of the consequences of your choices and make real smart decisions, and that's going to educate the normies.
Yeah.
And that's going to
Absolutely.
that's going to breach
Agreed.
the centralized money and
Mhm.
make more legitimate, more decentralized money supplies.
Mhm.
All right. Next question
Good point.
from I am for I am, I think. Yes. How do we define the line between a true DAO and an organization merely calling itself a DAO for marketing purposes, especially when it operates off chain? Should there be standards or certifications for DAOs to maintain the integrity of the concept? Who wants to weigh in first?
Isn't that what the D is for?
Is it
Pardon me?
Isn't that what the D is for in DAO? Is decentralized?
Yeah.
decent?
So
Yeah.
it's off chain. Isn't that kind of
Autonomous is
exactly.
the thing you can't do without blockchains.
And that was kind of a trap question, because the idea of standards and certifications really rubs me wrong, but I wanted to put it out there anyway, because they should be. If you're getting involved in a project and it does look like the marketing and the DAO is just that, it's a form of marketing, and I'm sitting here in an emperor's costume, shall we say. It's ironic but it's something that I do believe in, that DAOs should have a function. They should operate correctly. That's why I like Den.social, not to plug it, but it is a good example. The show is an excellent example on the World Blockchain Roundtable. It's the first DAO that runs a show for 3.5 years, Joe?
Right.
So
Right.
It makes a big difference. So when you see something or you hear people talk about, well, it needs to be certified that it's a correct and accurate DAO, this kind of thing. When you talk about certification, you're talking about who's certifying it. You know, is it a central power? It's a central authority that's certifying this DAO. So, that's kind of where it was kind of a trap question.
Yeah. Well, I think it touches on that little awesome question we got there about rules without rulers, right?
Right.
Because what you're doing when you add certification layers is you're just pushing trust problems to the edge, right? And you can do that recursively until you end up with certification organizations that certify certification organizations that certify certification organizations.
Right.
And that sounds absurd, but I actually stopped saying that the number of times you can find it recursive in the world, right? Like, because if I did that, we'd be sitting here hearing me repeat the absurd result over and over again. But rules without rulers, probably not. But I do think you can get rules where everyone can participate as rulers should they so choose.
Yeah, if it's voluntary, it's like you could write out a set of rules, and people could volunteer to accept them and follow them. You know?
Right.
And because rules don't exist without rulers, right? Like the concept doesn't make any sense.
Right.
In that.
And the idea that an emperor can be in charge of a DAO, well, technically not. It's still the DAO that votes for that emperor and can vote that person out very quickly.
Right.
And it's still the voting of the DAO that takes place for any proposals that the emperor puts forward. So the emperor is of holding the rudder of the ship, shall we say, but the DAO is still telling to turn right or left. But without maybe a leader to help direct or communicate to the DAO or the people of the DAO is where I think that position,
And you could say the contract itself is a ruler. I mean, it's a decentralized ruler, right? So
right.
Yeah.
When you could hypothetically have a DAO where you required 100% consensus on any rule that ever got enforced, so that there would literally be no single ruler you could point to, but it would be a place of few rules if you required that, because a lot of people just don't vote on votes if they don't care.
Right.
And those people are essentially consenting to the governorship of the people who decide to vote for that one particular issue.
Yep. That's why I like a behavior side too, because if part of the behavior is the vote itself, you are rewarded when you vote and disincentivized when you don't vote. So that's helpful
like
too.
Random, arbitrarily selected autocratic governorship by Fiat, right? Like you're a member, you can be picked to be emperor for a decision.
Yeah,
is that approach?
I like a lot-based selection with the Dracaria project. That's what we've kind of toyed with. If we were to have an open world game, that the leadership, which is mostly who knows what open world it'll be a game, but the leadership would be selected by lot, but it would be where you are essentially everybody gets to put in votes for somebody, but that does not mean that they are going to be elected to the top position. It's just, you might have a little more likelihood that this person is going to be selected, but they might be selected for, street sweeper, right? So
it's seed for an opaque outcome.
it could be really cool.
Awesome.
It'll be fun. That's why we want to do it.
The bus driver kind of had it Venezuela.
Can I just volunteer for the street sweeper?
Yeah, I can do it. All right.
It really is. You may get elected emperor though by random chance.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's decentralized governance is really what it boils down to.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I'm gonna vote on this one real quick here. Okay. So I am again. Question. You and Zach, man, you guys are. This is good, right? Good competition. Okay. What unique challenges do DAOs face?
I'm gonna challenge in the future. For Emperor, no, I'm just playing.
What unique challenges do DAOs face when operating entirely on chain, and how do these compare to the potential challenges of off-chain DAOs in terms of transparency, accountability, and member trust? So, there's some things, and mostly, in my mind, there's a lot of technical stuff here. Unwrapping it, that a lot of DAOs, it's hard. It is hard to do many of these things. With most of the, like say the EVM related DAOs that are out there, that they're limited in my opinion, in some ways, but at the same time, they're very powerful because the decentralization is direct. But the challenges are doing real world things with the DAOs, making the votes, though they are on chain, making them still, how do I say, not expensive, right? It shouldn't cost you to vote, but oftentimes it does.
Realistic.
Yeah, realistic. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that way. The off-chain DAOs, if that exists, is the transparency which is probably one of the top requirements or things that DAO needs. That, people need to know that their votes counted. People need to know. It's kind of equivalent to saying, though our federal government is centralized, you could say overall we do have decentralized governments in existence right now because all the states and counties, all the different things we vote for, you could call it a DAO, but or at least a decentralized voting process. But the problem is there's no transparency, and none of us believe that the voting is rigged now.
Right, and
Well,
it replaces impartial automation with permanent staff that can
Right.
be corrupt,
Right.
bribed, and whatever.
Yep.
Well, wouldn't something like utilizing smart contracts kind of help for relieving all these off-chain challenges?
They can. There's a problem, and I think that leads well into the thing that I wanted to raise here, which is right now there's no legal entity in the United States that can represent the will of a DAO. So if you were to not have any kind of organization and you were to vote as a DAO to say, like, we're going to pay this much money to buy this billboard in Times Square, when you go to buy that, what you're going to have to do is give the DAO to one member who is then going to have to take a windfall on their taxes, immediately turn around, buy personally the billboard, and do the will of the DAO. It's not you don't take advantage of many of the structures that organizations that aren't based on DAOs take advantage of, and it'll put DAOs at a disadvantage until we fix that. And the problem right now is they've fixed it with a hack whereby you start a foundation that is meant to bring the DAO into existence and then enforce its will. The problem with that is it's bolting on a human governance process on top of the DAO that can be corrupted and has been, right? To where the DAO itself is supposed to be superior to the foundation once they're both coexisting, but the foundation takes some action that's imposed upon the DAO without the DAO's will or consent, right? That happened to ENS when they got rid of the contributor that held some Catholic viewpoints that the sort of takeover by the woke grifter guy, the what do they call it, an affinity hoaxer. That dude came in and just like made a stink about this guy's old tweets, and so the foundation fired him, and the DAO didn't vote.
Sure, have one. I like the
the end of
chips. Making the chips with them is really good.
Which is why we got to guard against that and find a way to make the structures tie together.
Yeah, I can see how psychological fixation there has got to be neutral, and when you impose a flavor of ethics, then it just breaks it all down and crumbles it down.
Well, you need to make the DAO superior by the agreement. The foundation needs to be set up such that any changes to the way that it works or any major things that happen need to be run by the DAO and approved before you can do them.
And you got to think about the long-term consequences, a snapshot of that moment of when it's programmed. 20 years down the road, it's just still even in fashion.
Yeah, right. I
mean, the two things I would like to mention. First is, I'm going to propose this question. Legal and regulatory risk by participation in a DAO could be a problem. Let's say that you're in a particular country that doesn't recognize DAOs, or your project, shall we say, is working against the government in some way or fashion, or what have you, or they don't like it. So I'm thinking that if you're able to participate in that DAO and it's a true decentralized autonomous organization, you're using blockchain, then your privacy and anonymity is your legal and regulatory risk preventer. It's preventing you from having those kind of legal risks. Where if it was off chain and it's just on a spreadsheet, shall we say, and open for everyone to talk about and discuss, I think that might create a bigger problem or regulatory,
bigger than
risk.
any of us might have recognized yet, because you just made me aware of one based on an upcoming pending regulation that should probably be overturned by the courts once it gets all the way up there, but it might not. The small business registration thing, or beneficial owner registration they built into the Corporate Transparency Act. Imagine a situation where you have a DAO that has a foundation, and all beneficial owners have to be registered with the financial police or whatever.
Right.
Picture that problem if the DAO members are considered fractional beneficial owners based on the DAO's ability to rule over the foundation. You could have potentially millions of people who assume a CTA reporting requirement responsibility by buying a token.
Or you
the
airdrop
second
it.
that they
You
buy
airdrop
one,
the
it
token to
attaches,
even the
right?
politicians.
Right. I mean, it could end up being pretty ridiculous, where like one company has every single citizen of your country and 1,000 citizens from another one as beneficial owners in the registry database. Like, it'd probably crash their data store. They're probably not.
Well, and that's how you break it. That's how you beat them at their own game.
It's kind of funny. I don't know. I don't know if they'd be ready for.
But
hey,
that
this
brings up.
organization has 200,000 members.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. Oh, good. I didn't even think of that. Wow. Now, God help us if that were to happen. That now everyone has to legally register as an owner in anything. The other thing is, participation fatigue, as they call it, or decision fatigue, because there's too many decisions to be made. That comes within our government. People don't want to vote. They don't believe in the voting system, or they're just fatigued by the whole government bureaucracy, or the distrust that the lack of their voice being heard. So they have fatigue. They don't get involved. So that's also a big part of a DAO, I think, is if you have a bunch of people within your community are just like, well, you guys decide whatever you think is best. I'm too busy here. That does create an issue.
Well, you can do delegation to cover that,
Sure.
right? Like, you can say, like, on this topic, I trust this person to shepherd to wield my vote for me, because I was just going to vote how they voted.
All right. That was the last question. And we are now in the current events and memes. And I've attempted to pull together some Imperial themed memes for today. Okay. But what are the current events? What should we cover?
Did you see the pictures I sent in the World Blockchain Roundtable on Telegram?
No, I have not.
I thought those were interesting.
Oh, I've seen those.
Current events.
Yeah.
And the ties between Trump Jr. and Heggsgeth.
Oh, wow.
It's a very small order. Only 30,000 to 40,000 worldwide.
Oh.
The fact that both of them have the Jewish cross is a very odd.
That's interesting.
Wait, is that a Jewish cross? Wait a minute.
No,
that's Catholic.
That's a what do you call it?
Catholic.
Crusade.
It's not
It
even
goes
that.
way back
It's
to
a
the
crusade.
crusade.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's called the
crusade.
Jerusalem cross or the Jewish cross, one or the other.
Oh, well, crusades, yeah.
It comes from the
But that's that. By the way, it goes beyond that order too. I know there's there's something, but I don't know,
These
right?
Particular styles of crosses are their own field of study altogether. Like, you can
No kidding.
major in a form of art history that has to do with all of the different strains and genres of cross that have come into being.
Yeah.
So are we going to start a conspiracy theory that the Catholic Church in Rome is attempting to take power again?
I don't know. I think it's supposed to represent the cross, and then each of the smaller crosses are
some of the
evangelists: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yep.
Yeah. That's exactly what the smaller crosses are.
Yep.
So I just thought it was interesting that
Though I'll bet if you add
really
Sarah
election
to
and
that,
all
you
of a
change the
sudden,
meaning.
But to the left, be careful. 'Cause, I mean, that's a Nazi symbol.
Yeah, that's what they're saying already. That it's
Careful the N word.
Wait,
On
which?
YouTube.
Oh,
which
yeah.
one? I don't understand.
Well,
That's
X,
true.
I guess X, it doesn't matter. You know what, Zach, be careful. I don't want you to disparage Rome in any way. So
Right.
tread lightly with your words with Rome.
Right. Exactly.
Speaking of Rome,
Yeah.
whenever we talk about the Vatican, we say the Vatican, but whenever
Yeah.
priests, I've noticed, or bishops, or they say Rome.
They do.
They never say the Vatican.
Well, I've said this before. You know, the Pope is the living. What do they call it? Because I can't remember. There's a title that the religious leader in Rome had first, and Julius Caesar was that before he was emperor.
Yeah.
And the same title has been passed down through all the popes. That they're literally the same religious figure that the
I think it starts with a
Roman
P. I can't
Empire or
remember.
Republic had before.
Pontiff.
Yeah, Pontiff Maximus or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah, Pontiff Maximus.
So that's an interesting thing, right? I mean, history is just crazy there. Pretty. And
Well,
here,
I
look,
mean,
the Roman salute
yeah.
over a handshake, less bacteria. So when our next issue
wow.
hits again,
Oh, wow.
we should start. That maybe this is a good.
compared to that elbow bump thing.
I'm going to mark this so that we can.
Because we can
yeah,
always make the
definitely better
salute
than a
like
stupid
this
elbow
instead
bump.
if we wanted
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I'm all for this, the Roman salute. So we'll see.
I
Anyway.
kind of like I am Maximus.
Yes.
Maximus.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it could be like, the Caesar, where, for maybe all of the future emperors will have a suffix of I am for I am.
Yeah.
I
Something.
think we could mix in some Star Trek. We could.
Oh, I love that. I'm all
that's,
for that.
That's not a Nazi salute. That's a
Yep.
fly and prosper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So what current events?
I like to talk
World
about
War
the
III
missile.
started apparently.
I'd like to talk about the Russian missile that was recently.
Oh, yes.
fired.
I've seen more about that. Yeah.
Now it's just the real quick recap is this thing is called basically in Russian something to the effect of the hazelnut, or because when it's coming down, the hazelnut is like a long pod of nuts, and so when you saw the video, I don't know if you saw it, this thing cannot be stopped for nothing. It's at almost at 11, times the speed of sound. So it's Mach 11, Mach 10, Mach 11, right? And it has really changed it. To be honest with you, I don't think there's a lot of people that really understand this has really changes warfare, because no, it did not have a nuclear warhead on the front. It had a kind of a conventional. It broke up into 6 parts, but it completely devastated where that factory was.
Well, it didn't break up. That's another crazy thing. First off, it's a supersonic missile that we have yet to be able to invent.
Right.
So that's already a huge thing. But
and that thing could strike us all the way to the US.
6 different smaller missiles once it gets. It's like how that big tank takes the space shuttle up and then it drops off and then the shuttle goes. That's what it's like. It's supersonic, and then 6 other missiles can take off and go into 6 different targets.
Right.
It's a crazy weapon.
And just the speed of it.
Then gravity is your accelerator after that point.
Right.
It doesn't slow down if it's already supersonic, if it's coming into the atmosphere.
Let's say totally. They could take out the carriers. They could take out the carriers. They could take out anything now, and we don't really have an answer.
No, there is no way to prevent this at this point.
Well, also think about Iran getting 2 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
That's done.
Now think of it. Let's think of another one.
Let's do this thing, Sean.
Your Iron Dome.
Every country in the world at a little ordnance, man. I think we can scale up mad and probably solve a lot.
I mean, you could. Yeah.
I think it's ironic that these kinds of weapons were banned. They weren't going to be developed until the IMF treaty was canceled by Trump. I thought found that ironic. The other thing is, like you said, it could hit an aircraft carrier and it's done with. So think of the Navy is got to rethink this.
I've got a
We
lot
have
more
to
to think
rethink
than that.
everything, to be honest with you. And then
Drones.
let's go to the next point: is drone warfare has
Yep.
grown so dramatically and changed the battlefield so much that the F-35 is like, what's the point? Why are we spending all this money when you could have millions of drones?
You sound like a tech guy. You sound like Silicon Valley.
I know.
Here, let me tell you why. Because certain agencies within the government are 20 to 30 years ahead of what we know that they are. We have laser weapons.
Corruption? Yeah.
That could that they're specialized, but we have laser weapons that we're just starting to use. Ones that are the crazy satellite laser weapons that took out Maui and things. All
Rods
those
from God, stuff like
conspiracies.
that.
But our level of defensive technology with lasers makes drones not that big of a deal. Are we going to give that to Ukraine? Are we going to even expose that? No, we're not going to do that. But it already exists on most Navy ships, because to fire a laser, especially in dealing with pirates, on anything that's made of wood or fiberglass, it costs pennies versus a $10,000 missile, or
Right.
even
That's
a
true.
$5 BMG
Though
bullet.
the energy requirements to charge those lasers, if you needed to have a battery of them that was robust enough that you can continually fire at any volume of incoming, right? Because nano drones are becoming great prospects for military weapons, right? It won't be you have to shoot down a flock of seagulls with your laser. You have to shoot down a fucking swarm of bees.
If you've got a flock of seagulls coming at you, you just run, and you run so far.
I ran. No joke.
Or
That's
you
a
put in earplugs, right?
dude.
I mean, the Navy's
day.
got electromagnetic railguns mounted onto their ships, so I don't know how much you worry about
They
lasers.
discontinued that.
Hey, by the way,
last I heard,
by the
And
way,
that's right there.
I am Priam. We need to probably
I do love Gauss
co-opt,
guns, they're interesting.
commandeer some of these memes and put some Den Social stuff in there. And
I agree. Be really good.
I wanted to talk about something that. So, the election came to a close, and Lee said, "Hey, man, I want you to start. I've been all into U.S. politics, and everyone talks about U.S. politics. Now
I'll be
it's
right
over.
back.
I want you to look at European politics, and I want to start talking about European politics." So I see the guy from Top Gear, who has a farm now, and literally like this BBC journalist is like in his face, won't let him walk. There's this huge crowd of protesters, and there's all these tractors in London. So I think it's something like the thing that happened in the Netherlands with the farmers. Some kind of carbon thing.
The one from back in the pandemic with Trudeaunistan.
But this is a big to me. This is such a piece that brings it all together. Okay, so in most farms they're like generational.
Yeah.
In our family for 20 generations, right. And so
for now
the UK is now wanting to tax these farmers. To when I go to transfer the farm to my son, he has to pay an inheritance tax, which they've never had to pay. Like 4% of the country had to pay if it was like something major.
Right, which they're willing to settle even Stevens if you hand over the farm.
And I didn't know any of it, what was going on, but I saw this reporter. This was like a Zoom thing. It was it was like an anchor, and he's interviewing this politician. And he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" He goes, "Oh, I think we should be much more like Margaret Thatcher did with the miners." And it's still kind of going over my head. I was a kid. And the dude's face turned white. And his expression dropped. He goes, "You want to beat up farmers?" He goes, "Well, we have to do what needs to be done. And perhaps a heavier hand is needed." And he goes, "You want to beat up small farmers?" to
It's not
take
gonna be a
their
good
land.
look. How do you handle the optics there? Oh wait, you have social media censorship and a
So-
blackout on the media about it.
But this so I'm interested. So I want to know what's going on. So then the guy says these words: "We don't really need small family farms anymore." And it's like, oh, you want to be like the U.S., where like Monsanto and everyone, they take over. You have to eat chemicals. Your Fanta's not made with orange anymore. It looks like our nuclear Fanta. I get it.
Just like
But-
everyone in the United States works at
Right.
McDonald's.
But now think about this. This is what hit me. Kamala's big thing was unrealized gains.
Ugh.
So
That
if
wasn't
that had
hers.
went
That
through,
was-
and this goes through, and the farms go away, and so on and so
Calm down,
forth,
Warren. That was her
isn't
thing.
this what they wanted? You will own nothing,
Yeah, of course.
and
That's,
you
that's
Yeah,
exactly.
they have to
for
take it away. That's
Maybe
how
we'll-
they take away the farms. That's how they get the land,
Well, it's
and they
sort
take
of like
everything
scaling
away with the
down-
unrealized gains. It was
Right,
literally
scaling down
the
the
plan. It
IMF
was the end
strategy.
game.
It's
Speaking
make these
of
people in debt to you
unrealized
and then
gains.
promise to forgive them if you hand over your property.
Yeah. Well, there's the question: if you'll own nothing,
Yeah.
and you will either eat nothing or you'll eat poison, and
Yeah.
then supposedly you'll be happy.
Or
Right.
You can
bug
always
chip,
eat the
not
bugs.
labeled.
Yeah, the bugs. Yep.
Well,
I have
they'll all
that.
be
I have
eating
a
the
meme on
bugs
that.
soon, right? Actually, Canada's already allowing it in their food without labeling. So if you see, protein from some biological source and it's not specified, it doesn't
It's-
have to specify there's bugs in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could literally just be in like TV dinners now, for all we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Well,
there's something. One of the colors I was told by a family member just this past week that one of the
Yeah.
the FD&C colors is they
It's
make
bug.
it bugs. Yeah, it's one of the yellows.
It's red. No, it's
And-
red.
It's a
and
red,
bug
red,
chitin has
okay,
a higher
that's right.
occurrence of serious allergic
Crazy.
reactions and a lot of other
Yeah.
food additives.
And it's like a
So,
mite.
And that's the danger of
Yeah.
being able to not label anything and allow people informed consent.
Or
because
not
you don't
having
know what.
transparency in labeling,
Right.
because that's a
Yeah.
natural ingredient.
Yep.
Well,
You
that's a
don't-
typical regulatory approach, right? If they
Don't-
don't want
don't-
you to, if they don't want the market to have the information to make a decision, they just suppress it, right? Like we don't have any
Mhm.
good data on the fact that 99.99% of illicit transaction flows still make it through the system, even though we spend more than $300 billion a year globally on financial protections that are designed to stop illicit financial flows. They don't keep records of their own successes and failures. So the only way you can prove it is like sort of by proxy with 10-year-old data. And so the fact checkers come in and say this is old data kept by an organization unassociated. This isn't a valid source, right? So all they have to do is not tell you by differentiating in the database that you keep that this thing is happening, and nobody can track its outcomes.
Well,
It's
don't
great for
forget
the
about
advocates. Yeah.
Don't forget about the old news, quote unquote, where they were trying to integrate the vaccines into the food supply for a little while there. And it just
Oh, they've
kind
been
of
doing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Gene
they've been
Well, I
drive
know,
trying to do
man.
that for
been-
decades.
It's,
but
you used
they
to hit
had a
malaria,
new
but now you
push.
get whatever it is they want to put in you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they do that already just with the all the vaccines that they give, like
Oh.
beef and big factory
I
farming.
wanted to write a
and
horror story about them using bed bugs for that purpose, genetically modified bed
Oh,
bugs.
here's one of my favorite memes, guys. Ready? This one right here. This is like
oh, that one's great.
What?
excellent.
Dude, stop looking at her. He's not worth your time. Look into my eyes. The tits are temporary. The glory of Rome is forever.
Forever.
I love
Beautiful.
it. Oh, that's
I love
funny.
it.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Both of them look like trouble to me.
They do.
Good thing we
All
have
right,
the
what else
emperor
happened
here
this
to-
week?
to
So
shield
we
our
have
eyes.
the weapons. NATO's screwed. Is NATO just going to fall
how
apart?
Another
You know?
another
Wait,
Trump
story
going to
minutes.
withdraw from
didn't-
NATO?
Well,
Isn't
I'll
the-
talk about that for a second because I have a very big opinion on that now.
Of
I was
who?
unaware of a certain thing, and I've been made aware of that,
I can't
and
get-
now my entire view has changed. I believe
That's cool.
very strongly that as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine, United States soldiers should have been sent immediately to Ukraine in droves to go to war with Russia.
What?
You believe that?
Yes, I believe that with all my heart.
Wait, say
Really?
back that up. Back that up.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
Give us
instead
some
of
context.
Huh?
instead of drawing it out like we've been through the
No,
proxy.
no.
Or we
Are you
could have
talking
just
about,
kept our
in
informal
the
promise
20th century?
post.
Yes, I think as soon as
West
Oh.
Russia
reunification and
crossed the
not
border,
pushed
we should have
forward, man.
sent 50,000 troops to Kiev and move them towards the border to kill Russian soldiers.
No.
Okay? Do you know why?
Why?
I'll tell you why.
Why?
The
Soviet
treaty
Union
back
broke
in
up.
'98.
Thank you, sir.
The
Thank you
treaty.
very much.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what is this?
Yes,
96.
the Trilateral
That-
Treaty.
That
That
makes sense.
Ukraine, the Soviet Union breaks up.
Mhm.
Ukraine is the third biggest nuclear power in the world.
Right.
Yes.
Did anyone else know that?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well,
So
they got
Russia and the United States are like, hey man, we don't
Wow.
like you being up here with us.
Yep.
So the UK said to the UK, Russia, and the United States signed a treaty that said we will
Mhm.
defend your country no matter who attacks it with our blood. If you
Oh,
give
so
up all your nuclear weapons and to Russia.
So it was compelled the British to defend the Ukrainians if we did that.
So
Yeah.
Russia takes all the nuclear weapons, and their literal logic now that I know about the treaty is you were weak and stupid to have given up your nuclear weapons to us. You deserve to have us come in and kick your ass. But we
Yeah.
signed that treaty and we swore an oath to defend Ukraine if they gave up the nuclear weapons with our blood. UK and the United States and Russia, but okay.
See, that's interesting that you brought that up because that treaty in itself kind of proves like everybody's yelling and screaming about 50. It's the 51st state. Well, it technically kind of is because of that treaty in '98.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So
I don't know. I still think the right answer would have been to not push NATO north like we promised.
Yes.
informally.
That would be-
That was
Well,
also
that was
Yeah.
the
true.
other thing, yeah. Because we had the other
United.
promise to not expand NATO.
not expand NATO.
Like
And
if
yet,
we had, if we
here
had
we
done
are expanding
exactly
NATO.
what we said we wouldn't
Yep.
do, this would have never fucking happened.
Mhm.
But the
You
words,
can't
actually
surround
our
the
ethic.
country.
words were not 1 inch
Yeah.
past Germany.
Yeah, not 1 inch.
Yep. And yet, look what we've done.
Progressively shoved it north ever
I
since.
think it
then,
shows
almost as
just
if we were giving them
how
the middle
trees
finger.
are like how governments aren't real, how laws
I
are
mean-
not real. They're all
But
ideas.
also, this was happening in
These-
the heart
these are
of
just
NATO
the
United-
control of.
Just-
You're right,
I
Sean.
mean,
You're right,
let's
Sean.
just
It's
put it
not
this
real.
way.
Nothing's real.
Let's just put it this way. The United States government, like when has the United States government actually fulfilled a treaty? I mean, we've been breaking treaties since we started making settlement claims with the
Yeah,
Native
making a treaty with the
Americans.
United
Exactly,
States is
that's where I was
making
going.
a covenant with the Old Testament God. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's good for
You know,
until
I,
it
th-
isn't.
I would like someone
But
to do
not for
that. I would
me.
like someone to look back and see when we started breaking treaties. What was the catalyst? What was the first one? You know, because that was our country was founding on doing the right thing.
human nature. Human nature is the
Human
the
nature.
Term you're looking
power
for.
corrupts.
I think the sea pirate interpretation of the founders is more fair than any of the other ones.
The
Go
term
ahead,
you're
I,
looking
Andrew.
I
for.
take that with a sense of pride. I consider myself a sea pirate as well. But
Term you-
but yeah, no,
Good.
I don't think treaties have ever really had power, right? If you look at international law, there's no such thing. The closest thing we ever had was WTO trade courts circa 2005 before we started manipulating that for the sake of getting China in so that we could start giving them the discounts we desperately wanted to give them because our businesses were lobbying for it, right? Like the whole thing got corrupted by the fact that the principles behind it were undermined for the sake of open trade at any cost, as opposed to open trade based on a set of principles. And I think that's where that went off the rails. But that's how international law goes off the rails, because there's no superior
Yeah.
body to appeal to.
Right.
These treaties are just sort of like, ongoing formal promises that if you don't want to follow through with them, all you have to do is formally pull out of them before you start doing the thing you promised not to do.
How about it goes to the point, Greg, where the rulers of these countries are not listening to the people, because the Russian people and the American people don't have a axe to grind with each other. It's the rulers of both regimes, right? And so the voice of the people is lost. It's forgotten. It's hidden. It's squashed. It's ignored. And that's kind of where the problem is. And so that rolls up into the treaties that aren't obeyed or what's the word I want? Not obeyed, but followed or agreed to, or the commits are broken. So the contract's broken. So it boils down to that point that I guess the regimes can't be trusted. And as more and more people learn that fact and wake up to that fact, they're less likely to support.
Right. Well, I mean, and I think people are coming to realize that it's a property of top-down intervention, period, right? That it ultimately corrupts itself, and that you end up with self-dealing among rulers, no matter how much you constrain their power, how you intend to. Sovereignty doesn't know limits. Even if you say you have limited government, you're just sort of fooling yourself. You have a sovereign.
Oh, I love this one.
You know.
Yeah.
And just like a world full of big sovereigns is bad. I think small sovereigns is how we solve this problem.
It's a foundational myth, and there's always a sucker to pay the bill later. That's the whole problem.
Yep.
This one's funny.
The sucker was us, apparently, because our generation's going to be footing the bill for that shit.
I'm getting Social Security.
You're definitely getting Social Security. I don't know if you're getting Social Security.
Yeah.
I don't trust that kid. He's eating ice cream in the winter.
I don't know. Is it winter? I couldn't tell if it was winter or not. I just thought it was funny. You had to kiss that thing. That was pretty good.
Oh, ouch.
I heard Social Security. It's working as intended. You will, as long as they can have at least one worker they can rob and the ability to print money, you will have your Social Security.
Yep.
It
just don't expect your exact money back. You have to accept the theory of fungibility. They spent your money long ago.
What else? What else happened to it? You have the Alex Jones
they're spending it now.
Stuff.
Oh, the Alex Jones was interesting.
Yeah.
With the whole the judge threw out the auction, the bid. That was great. That was it was so rigged with the onion and all of that.
He's suing the families of Sandy Hook now.
Is he? See, I just saw that Musk posted that they're pushing against any attempt to give his X account over. I just saw that this morning. It's weird. Sounds like it's positive development. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like this is sort of like end game lawfare. Like it's right up there with like telling them that we're going to bring these missiles over and help you launch them at Russia.
This is very common in Asia. The snakes get into the outhouses and the systems.
Yep. Yeah, I was wondering.
I thought he was a gecko.
Fish.
That looks like a gecko.
I think he weighs about 8.5.
Just a little bit.
I just want to know who pooped him out.
Oh, brother. I probably I don't want to say anything. Gosh.
Hopefully it was somebody even more bald.
Yeah.
Who was the Treasury Secretary under Bush? Forgot his name.
Bush.
G.W. Bush?
Yeah, G.W. Bush.
Dude, I don't even know.
Paulson?
Yeah, Paulson, the Goldman Sachs guy. He was bald. Maybe he pooped him out.
Oh, God.
Well, you have to take a hierarchy of baldness, right? Like the more bald you are, the more power you wield. So it would have to be somebody superior.
I'm the most bald here.
Tommy C's got a question for the roundtable.
Well, maybe it's you.
On current events.
Are you the Melkor to his Sauron?
Do you guys think Ross Ulbricht or Diddy has a bigger chance of being detained this time next year?
I think
Ross
I think
Ulbricht
Diddy.
I have a
Ross
tinfoil
get
hat theory on
freed.
Diddy.
Ross is supposed to get freed. That was an actual promise.
Day one.
Yep.
That's day
It's
one.
easy.
Yeah,
He's gonna do it.
I don't
He's gonna
see
do
it happening, but if it does, I could still see it happening in the first 100 days if he
He's
decides
been
to
going
keep
out
that
of his way
promise.
to checklist promises, man. I think that's gonna be an
Yeah.
agenda item.
I think we're
guys
going to
think
hold
that-
him to it. Now the sad
We'll
part
see.
is
We
how
need to
about
hold
the
it to him.
108 years that Roger Ver is facing?
Yeah,
I thought it was 109.
100,
I thought there was some
109,
symbolic thing
109
with 109.
for tax stuff.
Wait, Joe, you questioning me, the emperor, for 1 year?
Yes, this,
Ah,
I think we
What
should have a
number was
UFC
wrong?
cage fight on that one.
What's it, Zach?
I said I think we should have a UFC cage fight on that one.
Oh, okay.
Joe versus the Emperor.
Yes.
I shall send my proxy Dennison to fight for me,
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
so I
That's
can do
Andrew.
the.
I think I've run out
We'll
of
get
memes.
Fade Rotha to do it.
Joe, you've won my favor with all the Rome memes. Thank you.
Excellent. Very good. That was the intent. I hope it worked.
It worked well.
Nice.
Let's see here.
Military.
Yeah, I gotta say,
on
this
the way.
thing is
Oh.
really poking my head. I don't know how Christ did it with thorns.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about the what I can't remember her name. She died in custody.
Did she really? I didn't know she
Yeah,
passed.
she
Same
just
woman?
died.
Seriously?
Scarlett Johansson.
I don't know if it really is the
Yeah.
same woman. I've seen it, but this is a 4chan thing for quite a while, so who knows?
One of these days, we're
But-
gonna have to do some
but she-
kind of digging into.
she
one of my
died.
pet topics, the reverse aging mechanism that's going to be probably in production in a couple of years here. Be interesting to see how
Okay.
how people react to having looked like left, then right, and then back to left.
APTX 4869.
Where's Woodrow Wilson?
Woodrow Wilson is the worst
kidding, man.
president ever.
Absolutely.
Teddy.
Yeah.
Teddy.
Teddy
You
might
can't
be
have
worse.
you can't have Woodrow Wilson without Teddy Roosevelt, who set him all
Yeah,
up.
that might be,
Paved the way
but
for Perez's
Woodrow Wilson,
ascendancy.
man,
He's
you
still-
can't. Teddy didn't sign in anything
Yeah.
for
Wilson.
Oh,
income tax.
Teddy created
or-
the pure food. He signed the Pure Food and Drug Act, so that's why
Mhm.
our foods are poisoned.
Yeah.
God, if only
My
we lived
question
in the
is
version
this-
of the multiverse where he got the hippos and not that.
How much was Woodrow Wilson after his stroke was his wife versus Woodrow doing it?
Most likely his wife.
Hmm.
Plain and simple, just like Reagan. Reagan, it was Nancy. Just like for Biden, it's Jill.
Dude, that guy had
Or the deep-
so
or the
many
deep
shady
state.
ongoings
Okay.
that we have.
We
no
need to cut.
idea of.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Let's see here. So thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully I didn't offend anyone with the memes. And let's see here. Each of you. So
If you did,
Zach,
chill
what's going
out.
on this coming
Free
week?
speech is free
You know, what
speech.
any updates?
Well, here's an update. All right, this coming Saturday noon on Fox, the game, the biggest spectacle. Speaking of bread and circuses, but you know what? Politics is the new bread and circuses. OHIO. We going to take that rivalry back, Michigan. So go Bucks. So other than that, you got the legacy right. New latest episode actually with I Am for I Am and Greg on.
Nice.
So check
That
that
was
out.
fun.
And as always, me and Andrew do the pod every Friday. We'll see what we're planning on this Friday, because we might take the week off just because it's Thanksgiving. We'll talk about it, Andrew.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Andrew.
That'll be a Black Friday.
Yeah,
It would be
yeah.
a Black Friday.
Andrew, anything to add to that?
Oh no. Just look forward to seeing you, William and Greg. Well, I'm joining you guys next time
Right
we're
on,
on.
right on. Greg.
We definitely.
I just wanted to, since we're already at a round table here, take a moment and pull in one of my family traditions and just real quick mention that this year, the thing that I am most thankful for are the people that enrich my life the most, and that is in no small part composed of the people sitting in this room right here and who are listening to the show right now, who are in the comments, who are on Den. You guys make life worth living, and I'm thankful for it. So
Awesome.
This one's for you.
Awesome. Thanks. Sean.
Well, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. If you're not in the U.S., just eat a turkey and and some mashed potatoes and stuff. We had the Man Up with a Red Pill. We just did a podcast. Went over a lot of the European stuff, how Europe has kind of really fallen. And then I kind of, like I said, made the connection between, like, it was globalism. It was almost here. When you look at what they're how they're trying to take everything away, it all clicks. Check out me and Lisa on Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. I don't know if we're doing the show. I think we are, but I don't know. It depends on, I guess, the Yellen supposedly resigned yesterday, Lisa says. I think me and Lisa are doing the show because she was just selling her just out. She's selling her house. So check that out. That's about it, man. I hope everyone has, like I said, a great Thanksgiving.
Very good. All right, and then hail
Nice.
Emperor. I am. What's
Trying
going
to think
on?
if there's anything new going on. I'm kind of at a loss, but no.
That's the salute.
I really appreciate all the votes and choosing me as the leader. I'm quite honored, and I will rule with grace, but with a firm hand, and I will have several decrees on din.social. Soon there will be a new show that will be released about Din Social, and we will highlight all the different postings and evaluate various postings together online, and I will have funny typical Emperor decrees, like maybe a dance off or various contests like funny walk day, or show us your funny walks, cat videos where the Caesar will judge which cat video made him laugh or only a chuckle or a smirk.
Very good. With a
Yep.
thumb, yes. Very good.
Yep.
Very good.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. The question is, who are going to be your Praetorian Guard?
Oh,
Who's going to privatize the roads?
Be careful. Yes, very much. Okay.
Dave
Watch.
Smith.
It should be, I think, in about 20-something minutes. There's a Spaces on X at Dracaria World. So go to Dracaria World. They're doing something there, but there will be another gateway key giveaway. There are maybe less than 20 remaining of the 42 that will be given away. So get in there, ask a question, and or just show up to get on the spinner to win one of those. And otherwise, have a happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, thanks for all you guys. This was and everybody who couldn't be here. This, including John in the tunnels, Lisa for sure, and and there are plenty of
Aaron
people
Day.
who haven't been on in a while. Aaron Day, yeah, totally.
And,
Yeah, and so thanks a bunch, and it'll be a good, we'll have a New Year's special maybe, right? We'll have to
Lots
figure
to
that
be
out. We have the December. We have to figure out how it fits in, and we don't know what next week's show will be yet. I think it's for Net Vote because December, I guess. Is that right? Is it really next week?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, share this episode. The more it is shared and viewed, the more lot the hosts and topic contributors get. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all that other stuff. And that's it. Thanks so much, guys. See you next week.
Yeah.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.